Welcome to the stream, everybody. My name is Jose. I am a golden in Kendo, and today we're going to be discussing ippons in Kendo, and it's a good time for you to ask any questions, anything I can help you with. Let me know. That's what I'm here for. It's supposed to be a safe place for us to share our thoughts and grow together in Kendo. So let me say hi to everybody that's been here in the comments, everybody that's coming in. Dragon, good night. Buon notte. Good night. Well, for me, it's good day. Good morning, I guess, still. Yeah. But thank you very much for passing by. Paul, Westblade, thank you very much for passing by. To all my friends in Memphis Kendo Club, please say hello to me. Say hello to them from me. And I hope I can practice with you guys anytime. If you guys come over here, if anybody comes over here, let me know. And I can try to help you guys find some practices as well. Dangun, welcome. Morice, welcome. Thank you very much for passing by. Everyone from Seikenkai in Atlanta. That's awesome. Yeah, I wanna pass by and visit a lot of my Southeast friends. So thank you very much, everybody, for passing by. So I wanted to kind of share a little bit of thoughts that's been going in my mind lately in practices. And since I came to Japan, actually, something interesting has been happening is that I am not in bad physical condition, right? And I started noticing, especially when I came in, and definitely I'm in better condition than when I came in, right? But that I was getting tired for things that I felt that shouldn't be getting tired. And some of the things that I noticed, for example, is that some of the places where I practice, the floor is very slippery, right? And being in that floor, like it just in kamae, becomes tiring. So especially because if you're trying to push but you're sleeping at the same time, it kind of becomes a little bit tiring. And I understood that it's not necessarily because I'm not having the conditioning in order to not get tired, but it's because I was doing things, and I still think that I'm still doing some things like this that not necessarily in the most efficient way. So I was wasting a lot of energy, right? And this past week I realized that, you know, different little subtle changes on my kamae, on the way of moving, and like how to engage my leg, that made it so much more comfortable and so much more efficient to move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pick up some of those things that I've been kind of processing as we go on the video and try to share those things with you, because it definitely has made a big difference in how I approach my opponents, how I move around during Jigeiko and practicing stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. If you guys don't know, we have a Kendo Tips Discord server that you're free to come in, and if you would like to meet some more Kendo people, yeah, the Discord server should pop up. Yep, there it is. That's the link. And if you would like to support the channel by becoming a member, or you can just send super thanks. That way you can help me make this video some more consistent and, you know, better. So you can also become a member of the stream by following the link that just showed up. Anyways, if you could, it really helps if you hit the like button, pushes this stream out to more people. That way I can, you know, make this channel a little bit more known and we can spread Kendo out there. Okay, let me just make sure that I have everything set up here. Okay. I didn't set up this thing right here. Okay, so this video is from the All Japan Kendo Federation. What I'll do is I'll put the link in the chat if you would like to go see it on your own later. But the cool thing about this is that we have some famous characters in there. One of them being Tsuchitani on the first. Let me know if the volume is too loud. Tsuchitani from Osaka. And he, if you don't know, he was in the Japan team on the last World Championship. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. What I'm going to do is that I've been getting a lot of the question about when to attack. And I think this is a great question to start asking yourself. I think I mentioned this in the last stream. But the main thing is not necessarily about thinking about when to attack as you're in Jigeiko, right? Maybe you can analyze when to attack, like what we're doing here, right? But what has kind of triggered a different way of thinking, or like a more efficient way of thinking for me, during Keiko is not to think when to attack, but instead, why should I attack, right? A lot of times we are in that moment, we're in Kamae with each other, and then you're like, oh, maybe something needs to happen, and just go. And as you approach, maybe as you're going in that, oh, there was no opening, right? So if you kind of like go back in your mind and said, why should I have attacked or should have not attacked from this point? Maybe the opponent didn't do anything, right? Or maybe he looked like he was tense, but he was kind of baiting you. So you gotta start thinking about what should be the reason for you to actually come in and do something against your opponent rather than keep trying to pressure them into moving. Let me go back to some of the common disciplines. Jose, the slippery floors can be challenging, but it's good for your core and stability for your kamae. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, when they do the Embu Taikai, I have a friend that he participated on it, and he mentions that especially during the weather at that time, whatever, like this, the floor is very slippery, and not many people are really used to that floor. So you see a lot of people slipping, and it's a big challenge, especially understanding how to push yourself off efficiently, right? And that has been like doing kakarigeko in this type of floor. It's a big challenge on its own. Like I kid you not, like doing kirikaeshi when you do tatari, you slide back, right? Even if you're pushing forward, you tend to slide back if you have somebody that's coming in with good technique, right? So definitely. And the wet towel is something that they do in these dojos where I'm practicing, and some of them, like it's not all of them do it. But yeah, so it's a challenge. Yeah, but good tip, right? If you have, but normally a lot of, like, I don't think I have practiced in a slippery wooden floor outside of Japan, because that has to do with the varnish, right? So I think everybody outside varnishes. Okay. I really like Tsuchitani's Kendo on how he approaches his kamae. Oh, okay. There's a couple of things that are happening in this ippon that are amazing to me. One of them is that he's pretty tall, but he's closing the distance quite a bit, right? So he looks engaged the whole time. He looks like he's going to go anytime, but he doesn't, right? He comes in at this last step to put pressure and immediately goes into that kaeshido. This is, I think, a great execution of kaeshido. He came in almost as if he's going for man, right? But then he turned that into the kaeshi, and in one motion came down to do the do. Very important. And another thing, he's not stopped. When he's receiving the men, he's not stopped. You can see the engagement of the back leg. He's starting to push him forward. This is crucial in order to get out quickly, right? You don't want to be static. You want to be able to do the kaeshi, do the do, and move out in one motion. Very nice, very nice. Now, there is something that many people tend to do. There's something that many people tend to copy, and is that one-handed follow through. But sometimes people do that one-handed before the impact. You have to be careful, and you have to make sure that you do the impact with both hands. Then you can release in order to get out, to make it a little bit easier for you, especially when you're closer to your opponent. You have to make sure you do the impact with both hands. Watch. 2 hands here, and then by this point right here is when you see that the hand starts coming off, right? After the sword came out. Gotta make sure you keep that in mind. Very good. Fangi, yeah, super fast, right? One motion, it's one of the things that you want to practice your fluidity, like having the good grip and having a good understanding how to use the left and the right hand to go around. But at the same time, you want to be relaxed. So you have to have tension and relaxation, right? You have to use proper technique. But I think his kendo is amazing. Hiki? No. You see how we're talking about when to attack, why to attack, but also should be important why not to attack, right? So if you see Tsuchitani, who's on white right now, he puts pressure with his body, but he doesn't get any reaction, right? He gets the reaction of the opponent going backwards, so he makes himself safer, and Tsuchitani decides not to attack, but instead to kind of reset that pressure and give it again. So he gave it again. He wasn't really ready, or he didn't see that opportunity to come in, but he stayed safe, right? It was a little bit of a risky moment right there, but definitely not necessarily an opening, but he didn't necessarily see an opening for him to commit to a technique. So it's important not only figure out why you should attack, but also try to figure out why you shouldn't attack. Oh, I don't know if you guys, oh my God, that was a nice men Suriage men, right? Watch it one more time. That's such a nice men Suriage men. The timing, the pressure, I think a lot of things work together here to come out this powerful and this efficiently, right? So let's break it down for a second. If you watch, he's putting pressure forward and trying to figure out what the opponent is doing. He sets up his back foot a little bit back as he should have when he came in, right? But that kind of set up the distance. So he kind of came close. He came close to his opponent, but in order to set himself up as he saw the opponent coming in, he made a little bit of distance by bringing back the back foot, but still keeping that forward foot close to the opponent to keep that threat as if he's coming in. And then when his opponent decides to come in for that man, in one motion, he brings the tip into the center, and keeping in mind the distance, he doesn't do fumikomi forward, right? He stays in one place. And he's able to deflect the sword, catch the opponent as he's coming in forward, and then keep the alertness towards his opponent, making distance and taking that beautiful ippon. Very nice, very nice. The motion for the Suriage here is very interesting, right? Because he kind of has the tip a little bit out, but still his intention is towards the center of the opponent. He uses a combination of both the left and the right hand to bring the tip to the center in order to have a very straight angle down with power towards the opponent. So mind you, once he makes it to the center, one mistake that I see people do is kind of they do the Suriage and then the men in two separate techniques. So they do one and then two. So if you notice what Tsuchitani did, he kind of came into the center, and from that position, he just brought the sword down. One motion. Beautiful. And I think the key to this was that pressure towards the opponent, that he wasn't just waiting. It looked like he was coming in. From his opponent's perspective, it looked like he was coming in, right? Let me see. So he comes in with pressure here. He sets his body up, and then he's bringing the back foot back. So it's hard for his opponent to see that he's actually making distance away from him. And as the opponent is committing into a technique is when he engages that back foot to do that distance. The right foot, it's not necessarily doing a fumikomi, but it's setting up to have good stability. And then he does that, man. Very interesting. Very cool. Let me see. Let me catch up with some of these comments here. For this tournament, you're still trying to find out which Murakami brother did Takenouchi went against. Oh, I have no idea. Maybe we can see through the picture. Keith, you recently had a tournament and you lost your match in the final and was told that your Kaeshido didn't score because he was striking with one hand. So yes, that's very important. As I mentioned before, you want to strike with both hands, and you want to have a good follow through with your hips, with your back leg, to kind of show that. Another reason why many people don't get the Kaeshido is because they hit in front rather than on the proper side, and they end up hitting like too close, with this part of the shinai. So you want to make sure that you actually get a good impact with the right place. And I think it's a common thing, again, because we try to copy what we see in the videos, right? But practice that motion, impact, and then you can practice getting out, right? So practice this and away, right? Like you want to throw it away as much as possible. Sometimes when the person is coming in, you can have to adapt. You want to throw it away. You want to throw it away. So something to keep in mind. Guys, if you haven't, please take a second, hit the like button, help the stream get pushed out to more people. And we can get more people in here. That'll be nice. So I think I don't know if both of them competed discipline. Do you know if both brothers competed? But I think this is the younger one, right? Murakami looks a little bit tense and scared there. Oh, very nice Tsuki. So we're talking about why to attack, right? And there's a couple exchanges where Murakami attacked, and that's what I'm saying. He looked nervous, so maybe he was attacking too much and kind of gave up his timing that way. So in here, he goes for this kote right here, right? And this is something that normally ends up happening a lot, where you go because the opponent is coming. So at this point, there's a discussion I was having with somebody I was practicing this past couple of weeks. And to kind of like summarize is that the first person to move has the advantage, but the first person to attack tends to be the one that it's, in the losing side. So meaning that if you're the first person to put pressure and you force your opponent to attack out of desperation, then the first person that gave that pressure, if he is mindful and he is attentive, he will have that opportunity. He will have the upper hand. And if you see here, Murakami moves, he attacks because Takenouchi gave that pressure in, right? And Takenouchi couldn't maybe capitalize on this action. Maybe he could have forward intention and gone that man. But the fact is that because he was the first one to move, he kind of had that mindset. He had a little bit more readiness. And when Murakami came in, he was able to, dodge in this case. but he was also in a good position to take advantage of this mistake that Murakami did. Does that make sense? It's something that is very interesting to watch because sometimes it could be a little bit counterintuitive, right? That if you're the first person to move, but you're not necessarily the first person to attack. So this is something that I think we should all explore and keep working on, because you want to put pressure and force the opponent to do something they don't want to do, or at least not when they wanted to do it, right? So you have a little bit of that control there. Hope that makes sense. And let's go now to the part with the Tsuki. So in the Tsuki, Takenouchi came in, he closes the distance, he comes into a very close distance, and Murakami is starting to go backwards, which puts him in a very bad position for that incoming Tsuki, because Takenouchi was already in a close distance, and even where Murakami is still holding his kamae, it was easy for Takenouchi to go around and score that Tsuki, right? Very interesting, very cool. Not an easy technique to score. I think he did it very well. He was coming in, he came in with a good impact, with good follow through, and yeah, great scoring. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. Hold on one second, let me just make sure that I can see the comments. Okay. See, discipline. You're not sure which Murakami brother, but you think either east or west, each prefecture is allowed to one slot according to rank. Still not sure. It's okay. I mean, like, he looked a little bit nervous in this fight. Fujiyama's kamae, White's kamae is very good. I mean, both of them are really good, but I guess because I'm seeing White from the front side. Oh, nice playing with the timing. I don't know if you guys saw that. Watch it one more time. So, White to attack. In this case, White came in. He's coming in, putting pressure. He's closing the distance. He's getting Red to back off, right? But he's not necessarily giving an opening. So what he decides to do, because he sees his opponent going backwards, is that he comes in. Watch, first he puts a little bit of pressure. He gets him on the run. He readjusted the distance. He comes in and does the motion as if he's going in for an attack. His opponent decides to start blocking, but instead of attacking, he steps in and his opponent overcompensated. So at the moment where he decides to do something to counterattack this pressure, White comes in with a technique. A lot of times when you see people overreact to something, because in this case, Red overreacted, right? He says, oh, I overreacted, I need to do something. There's a little bit of an overcompensation to that overreaction. And this is normally a good time to take advantage in order for you to execute your technique. So in this case, he had a lot of time to execute that men as Red was trying to bring the sword around. So be mindful of that. And that's why you always want to try to put pressure on your opponent and make them react. Hope that makes sense. Fangy, you haven't watched a whole lot of tournaments and you're still pretty new to Kendo. So welcome to the stream, and I think you're in a good place. Again, we also have the Discord server if you want to talk to more Kendo people. But you feel like Tsuki is much rarer or something. Maybe it's just isn't as expected. There's a couple of things that happen. I'm not going to talk about all Japan level, okay? I'm going to talk in general, like all levels Kendo. The problem with Tsuki, I think, is that we don't practice it enough, number one. I think my camera is kind of like a little bit too much in the edge. Maybe I should move it for 1 second. But we don't practice Tsuki enough. This is one. The other one is that because we don't practice it, we don't feel confident at throwing it. and end up not really putting everything into it as we should. So it's even if it touches, a lot of times it doesn't look or doesn't feel like it was an ipon. It looked more, it was like, it's like, oh, let me just like touch there or whatever, and it just doesn't. Yeah, like it's something that maybe it's hard for the judges to say, that was an ippon. I think tsuki is rarely expected, especially when somebody coming in to do it to you. So that way people it could be easier to get it when you have somebody that's kind of like closing in the distance, like we just saw, or maybe not that we just saw, like somebody going away, trying to get away. And if you have somebody that's kind of in kamae coming in, and then maybe two tense, and every time you go for men, they tense up and they mess up your men, and it's hard to go around for the kote. Tsuki can also be a good technique, and something that most likely they don't expect it, because they are very close, and tsuki can be very fast. That's why we should practice it properly though, right? Because you don't want to hurt somebody as you're doing it, and you don't want to hurt somebody even during practice or tournament and so on. Thank you. Said you heard that as well, that it's a valid technique. No reason not to practice it. Yeah. Okay. So normally the reason why people don't practice it is because maybe teachers are afraid of hurting somebody, or maybe, some people don't like to receive the tsuki, and then just like, it kind of gets pushed out, I think, from practice. Most dojos where I practice, even here in Japan, a lot of times I don't even see it being practiced either. And maybe it's because of that reason that, there's a mixture of kids, adults, and so on, and they don't want to get anybody hurt. But when I go to a lot of, competitive dojos, high school, even college and stuff like that, they do practice it, and they practice it often. So it's something that you want to, maybe if your dojo is not practicing, maybe get a partner and, practice it on your own, because you do want to have this skill. This and hikiwaza are two things that I don't feel like get practiced enough. So that's my 2 cents. Let me make sure that I have this after that RAM. Hold on, where's my? Okay, yeah, because my screen is kind of like, is it like this maybe? Better? How does that look? Okay, perfect. Okay, much better. Thank you. You said that better to get good at it than try for the first time at a match and hurt somebody. So maybe at the first time at a match, maybe you just miss it altogether. And worse than that is that you miss it, but you don't have continuation because maybe you threw it scared. So a lot of times, maybe the opportunity is not there for the tsuki, but as you throw the tsuki, the person kind of goes back and opens up, and it's an opportunity for you to actually do a technique. And if you don't try that, if you don't practice it, then you cannot have it. And now my dog wants to play. So, John, tsuki duele que te caigas si fallan, pero cuando lo conectas, es correcto. So what he's saying, guys, is that tsuki can hurt when it's missed, but it feels really good when you actually hit it properly. And as a matter of fact, when you have a good person doing a good tsuki on you, I think it feels great receiving it too, right? Like it doesn't feel like uncomfortable. You just feel like you're getting pushed, but it doesn't feel bad. But when they miss it, I think the problem is not when they miss it, it's when they miss it going under like this, right? Like because you can't actually hit here, especially if you have somebody that's not really paying attention or caring, they don't release that pressure, especially during practice. Because on shiai, I can understand that more. But on practice, if you're not paying attention and you go underneath, you should immediately just drop it. A lot of times I let go of the sword, I pull the sword back. A lot of times I just I might drop it if I feel like it can put my partner in danger. So yeah, my dog is, sorry guys. Morty, no. Yeah, okay, go play. Go over there. Yeah, but tsuki is a very, very, very important technique to practice, guys. Oh wait, you went too big. Let me pause this. Sorry, I need to stop the video sometimes, like to read the comments, because I have one monitor, right? So discipline equals freedom. It's good to practice Tsuki-waza in a slow delivered Mawari Geiko or a slow down Oikomi with Tsuki. That's true. But I'm going to put a little bit of an extra point on that. A lot of times when you practice something slow in Kendo, it doesn't come out the same way. For example, when you do Fumikomi slow, right? If you're practicing Fumikomi slow, you tend to neglect that Hikitsuke, right? From the back leg. And a lot of times, if you don't make an effort to practice techniques at the right speed and with the right engagement, then you might end up creating bad habits too. So I am 100% with you in the sense that we do need to slow down. This is something that people tend to have trouble with, right? Slowing down their training. But also at the same time, you want to practice the right speed, the right force, and the right follow through for the technique. John, you said, yeah, if you receive a good Tsuki, it's not a bad feeling. Maybe the back part of the neck is a little bit uncomfortable, but nothing really serious. As a matter of fact, like I went to a seminar where Eiga Sensei was there, and he did his, all his explanation, and my friend received Tsuki from him. And it was funny because the feeling that he expressed to me about it, it was that somebody put a hand there and just pushed him back, right? So remember, like if you're coming in, if Tsuki is coming in like this, I think will be uncomfortable, right? But Tsuki should be coming in straight in, right? And even almost a little bit down. So it should feel that, it's kind of like pushing in. And the other thing is that you want to extend your hands for the Tsuki. Matter of fact, let's watch the video from the Tsuki here on Takenouchi, right? You should extend the hands for the Tsuki after you engage your legs, right? So you want to transmit your weight into the shinai, but you don't want to do that. You don't want to throw the hands first and then throw your body. And this helps it feel more of a, of a push rather than like, like a thud, like a hit, I think. So if you watch here, you see he throws the legs. Look how far his right foot is before he engages the hands. Look. So when you're doing Tsuki, you have to engage your legs before you engage your arms. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see is people throwing their upper body and just kind of throwing in their hands. Their legs are not really engaged, and maybe they get engaged at the end. So there's not enough force, and it doesn't get a good impact. So you have to throw it as if you're throwing any technique and then engage the hand and then engage the hands. Much like pretty much every other technique, right? You want to engage your legs first, then your hands. So that way the shinai gets a good impact. Does that make sense? Okay, let's go forward. Nice one, really nice one. I like it. So we're talking about why to attack, why not to attack, right? And if you look at this one from red, he puts pressure, he changes the timing. Watch. He puts a little bit of pressure, he gets the opponent to kind of react, right? He does the same thing. The opponent doesn't really do anything. He starts moving back, but instead of going directly, he kind of tries to do something, a little bit of a motion before going in, so kind of messes him up with the timing. So he had a little bit of better chances, right, on this one, but still putting himself in a very dangerous position because he did attack without getting a good reaction from the opponent. And if the opponent would have been more engaged, maybe he would have been in danger. Oh, so I think I mentioned this on my last stream, that the week before, the sensei on the dojo where I'm practicing, and he told me that every time that you're in kamae and your opponent is going to give you pressure, you have to have the feeling that you're gonna go for I-men. And a lot of the times when the opponent is trying to give you pressure and you have this mentality, you can catch the opponent making a mistake and take an ippon. If you watch that here, red puts pressure, and then white immediately engages on that man, that having that feeling of he's gonna come in for the I-man, and he was able to catch him in that transition of that step. While red was still trying to think about giving pressure, white was already attacking. So always have the mentality that you're going to go for a technique rather than just waiting there and trying to find that perfect moment, because a lot of times those moments, they come and go before you actually realize that they were there. John, you said first the body go forward, but the action of the legs like a block, then the arms, correcto? First the body go forward, but the action of the legs like a block. Like, explícame un poquito mejor, porfa. Me lo puedes escribir en español, no hay problema. I want to get the right image. Very nice, very nice. Oh. Very interesting, right? So white comes in. It almost looked like red had the advantage there, right? But he didn't, because white received that man with the hands away. This is another mistake that I see people doing when they do Kaeshido, that the first thought to do is to bring the sword back, and even with the tip away. You want to have the sword forward and transition immediately into the do, rather than bringing the sword back to then bringing it forward. It's very, very subtle difference, but makes a big impact on how quick you can catch and counter. Because if you wait all the way here, that the sword is coming all the way down, then your opponent most likely it's closer. So it's going to be harder for you to get the impact, a good impact, and then be able to get out. So ideally you want to catch your opponent's sword away from you want to catch your opponent's sword as far away as possible. Very nice, very nice. John, quiere decir que el cuerpo va hacia adelante por la acción de las piernas como un bloque. Correcto. So what he's saying is like, if the body is coming in all together because of the legs, like a block. So like a brick, I guess, or like a board. Como que si fuese una tabla, me está diciendo que va todo junto. Correcto. Yes, you want to engage your core. You want to have your core engage to the point where like you move. How do I explain this? Let me see. How do I explain this sitting down? So a lot of times, like let's say that you want to move your body all together, right? With your core engaged, your lower back, everything tight, so you move all together. It's not like you're gonna move and you're going to kind of like, leave the upper body behind, or vice versa. You don't want to come in forward and then engage the legs. You want to come in, because if you do this, it makes it harder for your opponent to see that you're moving, right? Especially when you start coming in slowly, it becomes really hard for the opponent to perceive it as much as possible, especially when they're trying to do stuff to get you to react. So you have to kind of learn to do that fluently. That makes sense? see, and sometimes it's so hard to keep the. Oh, that was such a risky. So I have a friend that he used to say that, degote is a very risky technique, and it is a very risky technique, and we just saw the risk of it, right? So he came in very good timing, but he failed to actually get the right target. So at this point, he becomes very exposed to the opponent's men, and the opponent, the opponent didn't even hit. So we were talking about this, I think, like 2 weeks ago, right? Like in the stream, that you need to have good body posture, good fluidity, and even when you miss, it should look like you got the technique, right? And I guess here, at least 2 judges felt that it was good enough, that it looked like a hit. And in the moment of the fight, you want to have good control of your body, not necessarily because you want to get score as you don't hit, but because if you miss, you're in a good position to go again and do another technique. So you're always ready to attack. That's why you want to have good control, and every time you miss, it should look like if you attack. Especially for testing, I think this is a good skill to have as well, because even if you miss, you don't look like you lost control. So keep that in mind and try to practice proper kendo, that if you miss, there is nothing wrong, like your body doesn't break and you don't lose control of your speed or what you're doing in that moment. Hope that makes sense. Discipline, you said you have to disagree. Degote is a safe waza, and that's the closest target. Even if it's sloppy, you can follow with Rensoku waza. But my point is exactly what just happened, right? When you throw your degote at that moment, right? Like, degote can be safe if you throw it before the person it's engaged already on the man, right? But as this technique is coming in, it becomes very unsafe, right? Like at that point, like if he throws the degote, if he makes the impact at this point, he has enough, right? Like if he was able to anticipate the motion, if he gave pressure and anticipate the motion and throws the degote and he makes impact at this point, I agree with you. But once the opponent is past this point and you're making the impact, it becomes risky. Because first of all, the angle makes it harder for you to actually get a good impact. So getting the sound, getting the proper pop, and because the judges might not even see it, they might go by the sound, could be hard. And also, because of the angle, it's going to be very hard to get a good impact in the right area. So if you miss, there's very little you can do because of the commitment that you have to have. It's very little you can do in order to do anything else. So the opponent can get you. In this case, it was unfortunate for him because he got scored by not getting hit. But what he did is that he kind of went to the side to kind of avoid it. That, can also bring a lot of consequences. But I agree with you on the safeness of degote if you manage to anticipate the motion, right? Like if you make impact up to this point, maybe, very safe, because even if you miss, you can still do a lot of things. But when you're here and you're making the impact like around this area, it can be very, very tricky, very risky technique, because again, you're risking not getting a good impact, you're risking not actually making contact with the target, and then the sword of the opponent is close enough that you can actually get the hit, even if you actually got it and the judges might not hear it. My thoughts again. Thank you for sharing yours. Freedom, you said you see the point because timing counts. You try to follow mostly with tari to disrupt your opponent's waza. Yeah, but if your opponent actually got good impact, you know, like you can't disrupt the good impact already, right? Yeah, it might look weird. As a matter of fact, you can see in tournaments sometimes people get thrown on the floor after, but still, if that flag went up, that flag is up. Guys, I want to ask everybody a question. Do you get commercials as the stream is going? If you do, let me know. And then, because yeah, like that's annoying, right? So I want to see if I have to turn off the things or anything, because somebody asked me, and I thought about this. Somebody asked me, has anybody got a problem with the stream kind of cutting off at some point? Please let me know too. Just because, you know, I care a lot about the experience here, so I don't want you guys to, you know, to lose that. I remember that. Oh, so that kote. I think now we enter your side, Freedom, right? Because look where the kote hit, right? Now, why? I mean, red is very tall, so the fact that he can go around like this is very cool, right? So he comes in, you see, he gets a kote at this distance, and his opponent, even this close, you see, he can still get the man even when his opponent was kind of tilting the head. But luckily for him, you know, he got it. But even when he gets that kote as the sword is starting to come up, it's still risky, right? Because I think it's because also how close he was. That's another thing, right? Distance is going to be a very important factor on this. If you're so close to the opponent, you also get a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? You get a worse angle to hit, right? So you also have a risk of not getting the ippon, of even making contact but not getting the ippon. And at this point, you know, the opponent was close enough that he could hit him, even though, you know, like he was coming in with a lot of power. John, you got one ad when you fell behind and click like, okay. Memphis, you switched to the official MKA account, YouTube channels to watch, and there was an ad to start. Yeah, okay, so it should, I understand, John, maybe like as you're refreshing. Okay, so I guess I don't know if I can do anything about the refresh one, but as long as there's no commercials as we're going, that's awesome. And same thing with the starting. So thank you guys for giving me that feedback. So I have to say that this happens often. This happens often, and this is kind of one way of getting baited for receiving Kayashido, right? Look how red kind of keeps pressure forward, but he's not really doing anything. So it's like he is anticipating that Kayashido. And he comes in one motion. I feel that what makes White come in at this point is because there was such a close distance, but nothing was happening. So maybe he felt that I need to do something, I need to attack. And when you get into that position, you kind of do that reckless attack. And Red, that was maybe what he was trying to do, what he was trying to get you to do, so he could execute his technique. Oh, very nice. So this is maybe something that you don't want to do for a test, but definitely for Shiai is something very useful. And is that there's a lot of movement. So Red kind of starts becoming overwhelmed, right? So there's a lot of things happening. Red starts going backwards. He extended his hands, and then White decides to come in with a man from above, right? He goes around his sword and he's able to connect the man through his opponent's sword. And this is very useful to keep in mind, especially going from above. But all the movement is messing up with the distance, the timing, the awareness. Like it's overwhelming the opponent. And at that point, there's kind of a little bit of a freeze there that could happen that White took advantage of. Very nice, Ippon. Again, and the solution against this type of approach is to come in and attack, right? Or make a complete separation so you can diffuse that tension, that overwhelmness, and then you can start maybe doing that to them as well. But you want to avoid kind of just staying static against somebody that's trying to do that to you, because they're moving a lot, they're seeing what's happening, they're seeing the openings, and then they can take action because they're already in motion. But if you're the one kind of like on the defense and trying to slow things down, most likely you're gonna get caught in a bad situation. So keep that in mind. Memphis, that was an incredible man. Set up wonderful with pressure and a lot of movement all the time. He observed what his opponent gets him from a target. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, right? Like he's in motion, he's observing, like coming in with a very good pressure, right? It could be risky too, because all that motion can give a lot of openings. So somebody that's actually engaged forward will give a different response. So that's you also have to be mindful. Discipline. Red lost timing by stepping back, which caused late reset for Red to take advantage. Yeah, so you mean for White to take advantage, right? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you're stepping back, if you're kind of like taking that passive defensive action against this, you are in a bad position. You want to either completely separate, like get a complete separation and then re-engage, or closing the distance and try to actually give that pressure back. Because when they're moving a lot, they're trying to overwhelm you. At the same time, they're also thinking, they're also looking at different things. So it can be overwhelming for them too. So you want to keep that in mind. I think I should stop saying keep that in mind, because you don't want to be thinking about all this stuff during the fight. But maybe what I like to do is I set up scenarios, like, visualize scenarios before a fight, or, like on my own training at home or whatever. I visualize myself in these scenarios and try to figure out the responses and try to put them into my body, right? Like, so when I'm the moment of the practice, I just do it. And a lot of times what's happening lately is that the thing that I've been making the scenario happens during Jigeko, and then immediately my brain's like, okay, maybe the opportunity, maybe the action happened already, right? So like it's already past it, but immediately recognize it. So if the person does it again, it's already in my brain, and for some reason that just triggers my reaction better. Just do it. So try to at least put yourself into this situation, kind of visualize before practice, or at home on your own, visualize all the scenarios so that way you can start putting that vocabulary in your body. I think this is a good practice to have. Okay, keep going. Very nice Harai man. I think this is textbook Harai man, right? So with Harai man, you want to have always the intention to go forward. You want to use the Harai to disrupt the opponent's Kamae. Not always is going to happen where you do the Harai and then you're immediately in that position to attack. In this case, watch. In this case, it was a little bit of an off timing. He does the Harai, and he does the technique as two separate techniques. This is valid as well. But one thing that you always got to keep in mind when you're doing any technique is your footwork. So if you watch, the first time he does a little bit of Harai, he misses the Shinai. And then when he does the Harai, his feet are in motion. If you watch, the feet are in motion as the Harai is coming in. This makes the opponent go back. So if the opponent didn't go back, maybe he had the chance to come in immediately for that man. But because the opponent came back, he resetted his footwork and then launched for that man. Very important to keep in mind when you're trying to do pretty much any technique is your footwork. Now, for the motion of that Harai, if you watch, he puts the tip away, but keeping that intention towards the center. He's not moving out, right? So he's coming back in to the center, and instead of coming in and slapping all the way to the left, he comes in and tries to snap in the center. So instead of going like this, he's coming in and trying to snap in the center. So that way he's primed to go forward. Of course, his upswing wasn't as straight as it could have been, but it's also part of the moment, it's part of the movement. It's okay. But he comes in, he tries to catch that center the Shinai in order to come in and do his technique. Beautifully, beautifully connected, I think. Very cool, very cool. Let me know your thoughts. Hold on, I couldn't see. Okay, cool. So let's watch one more Ippon, guys. Oh, very strong kote. So the one thing that Red is doing that is giving him the advantage is that he's being the first person to move, to put that pressure, right? He's closing the distance, he's coming in, he's giving a threat to White. This causes White to kind of start moving forward, but in a very uncomfortable position. You see, he extends his hands and then decides from there to start the motion for the man. Red, because he was already in motion, he had his hands closer to his body, he has a little bit more control, and he's able to move around and get a good impact on that kote. Very good. Very interesting. Very cool Ippon, I think. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Okay, guys. I'm still experimenting a little bit with the timing of the stream. I feel that this time is working pretty good for you guys and for me. So I think I'm gonna make it a little bit more consistent. I want to try to do 2 streams during the week. Maybe it's morning for me, so maybe do one at the evening and then one in the morning, just so I can get, I can help out, I can share Kendo in different time zones. But yeah, your feedback is always appreciated. If you guys would like, please feel free to join the Discord server for Kendo Tips. That way, if you want to meet more Kendo people, if you want to send me a message, you can do so there. And the Discord link should be popping up. Did I misspell it? Okay. What happened? Okay, I'll share in a second. And if you would like to, I'll just pin the... Okay, I'll pin the member link if you would like to become a member. There's a couple of extra perks that you get from doing that. Miguel, saludos. Gracias por pasar por la stream. But let me get the Discord server link as well. Give me 1 second, guys. Feel free to pass by and meet new Kendo people there. Invite people. Steven, welcome to the stream. You made it too late. I'm sorry, bro. But welcome. You're always welcome here. And well, you can always go back and watch a lot of the stuff that we did. But here is the Discord server. I don't know why my bot didn't. If you haven't, guys, please take a second, hit that like button on the video, because I will appreciate it and it helps the stream and the channel a lot. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, you can, write them here, or you can pass by the Discord server and let me know, what would you like to see from this channel? What are some of the things that you would like me to work on and share for you when it comes to Kendo, developing of Kendo, or even, if it comes to traveling to Japan, or any questions you may have. Let me know what I should be doing next on this channel, okay? Guys, thank you very much for passing by. You guys keep me motivated to keep studying Kendo and to keep sharing Kendo with you. So I really appreciate your presence here and your comments. I'll see you guys on next stream, and hopefully new video coming up soon. So thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your weekend, or I guess have a good night on your weekend and a good week with good training, okay? Take care, guys. Bye.